Hey, good morning. Thank you, Instrumental Metal Music Metal Compilation Volume 2, royalty free. Appreciate that music. Good morning, how are you doing? Nice wall behind me. Oh, is that Rady? You like that? Yeah, I finally got my degrees. I've been sitting on the floor. So, bachelor's degree. The vertical ones represent graduate work. And then these are my postgraduate studies over here and over there. Cool. Finally got them up. And then above that is a cool Harvard lithograph of one of the gates, the Johnston Gate, I think. Anyways, and then a mess. Cool. Cool. So anyways, good morning. Welcome to Forex.Today, the YouTube community of more than 19,000 foreign exchange traders. I think that's super amazingly cool. That's a lot of currency traders. This isn't a huge market. Okay, it's a huge market. It's not a huge market. I mean, it's a small town. So to have 19,000, that's pretty amazing. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all the hard work that you exhibit and exude. Thank you for the positive energy that you give so graciously every single day. I think Forex.Today makes the world a better place. And maybe it makes you a better trader, hopefully. Anyways, at the very least, this is informative and maybe entertaining. That's cool. So, well, keep it up. Ask good questions. You're the boss. I look at my role here as part leader and part servant. So I'll let you be the guide, right? And I'll navigate to where you want to go the best I possibly can, with the overriding goal of giving in ways that you learn how to plan both technically, that's price time continuum stuff, but also fundamentally, central banking policies, monetary policy, global macro flow of cash. Remember, currency is like a current. It's a flow, like, you know, or movement. That's what it means, movement, right? So cash flow, movement of money across borders, and that's what we trade. So anyways, ask good questions and you might have a good live stream today. Also, you may notice that I posted a poll in which you can tell me what's on your mind the most. And I will start with that. I'd like to also invite you to visit tradersway.com, open up a demo account. Traders Way is a boutique foreign exchange trading firm. Fast execution speed, faster than most. Swaps, bigger than most. Spreads, very competitive. Yeah, you'll probably find cheaper. I don't know, I don't really look, but you could probably find cheaper, but they're probably going to slip you in and out. And what they're doing is it's a bait and switch, basically. They're like, hey, we have super cheap spreads, and then what they do is they slip you so you don't see a half a pip here, 3/4 of a pip there, and you actually end up paying more. And do you really want to work with a broker that does that to you? They actually program it into their algorithm, so it's basically a lie. So what you'd rather do is pay a normal competitive spread, and the spreads are great, okay? All that kind of stuff. So tradersway.com, give them an opportunity to earn your loyalty and respect like they earned mine. Makes sense, right? Smart. Tradersway.com. See you over there. Okay, let me take a look at the poll. And I will end it. Thank you to the 75 or so people that filled that out, or exactly 75. US dollar is on your mind. All right, let's do it. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for your participation in that poll. Let's start with the dollar. Nice. Okay, piggy, 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 can't you see? Great. So we got above the 21, which was key in our analysis yesterday. Okay. Remember yesterday we said this was the trade plan, but until you get above this area, which was the target, really it's the 21 we want to climb, then it's still technically set up for a lot of bearishness. Now we're in the upper quadrant, if you will. And by quadrant, you're like, what quadrant? Well, if you're going to use calculus, you're going to kind of, this is sloped, right? You're going to have a quadrant that kind of looks like this. Okay. And so now we're in this quadrant here, the upper quadrant. And what we want to see, if this is going to turn bullish, is, breaking out of this quadrant. And what it does is it removes the past bearishness part of all of this and then kind of moves the quadrant the other way. Okay? Anyways. So here's the thing. If you're a bear, you're going to sell this. Okay? What this tells you is be aware of a higher low or a double bottom if you're a bear. So you might want to say, well, maybe as a bear, you get it down to this median line, and then maybe it can come down here, but not to expect much more. Okay? Diago says, hey, Wayne, last week you did a central bank analysis choosing Kiwi and CAD and not Great British Pound, and then we went to the chart. It was very professional in this comparison between the pairs. Thank you for teaching us. My pleasure. Thank you for the positive feedback. Okay. So this setup for the bears say, be careful. You might not get down to the double bottom, but if you get down to the double bottom, there's probably not much more you could expect. Now, of course, it could go further, but it's expectations, if you will. Okay. Now you might say, well, how is it different from this? Well, that's the first retest after the cross. This is not the first retest after the cross. Okay. So a bull could say, maybe a bull bought here aggressively. This was a pretty clear setup there. Okay. And now you're sort of out of position for today, but you're looking at tomorrow. So you're really setting this up for tomorrow if you're a bull. And a bull's going to look at it this way, okay? That they see the 55s in control, so they're probably thinking something like that. We're not quite there yet, but that's probably what you'd be setting it up. BM is attracted to gold trading. Good. Good. Which means you're a dollar trader, because you're probably trading gold priced in dollars. So if you like gold, you probably don't like dollar. Got to keep an eye on Bitcoin, by the way. Yeah. It's great. Yeah, I made a cup of coffee, came back and made $200 on Bitcoin. Like that buys you a nice coffee at Starbucks, huh? I was wondering if I can make this a little bigger on the camera, I guess. So keeping an eye on that. All-time high, by the way. Good. La 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 la. All right, cool. So watching the 4-hour 21. Also, do you see the MACD? And you're like, wait, there's no MACD in your chart. I know, that's not what I asked you. I didn't say, did you see my MACD? I said, can you see the MACD? And MACD is below the waterline, but rising back toward it, which is kind of interesting. So this may signal less and less bears, but really this next couple of sets of candles will be very important. Take a look on a smaller time frame, and again, a bull is probably going to look at this as a bisoni. Okay, they're kind of looking at it this way. Okay. I don't like these types of setups. I'll tell you why. For example, this tells us, okay, this right here, let me get out of that color. This right here tells us we're at fair market value, which means all the bears that were selling this have gotten all their profits. They've taken profit, it's floated back, and now it's reset on the fair market value, which means it's not necessarily bullish, it's not necessarily bearish, it's neither. It's neutral. So now we got to go through a new set of price discovery, moves. And currently the market is still technically bearish. So that gives the bears a slight, okay, an advantage, albeit a slight advantage. Okay. And as I showed on the higher time frame, there's no reason why we can't sort of imagine it this way today and imagine it that way tomorrow. As a bull, that's how I'm going to look at it. I'm not necessarily bullish on the Great British Pound, although I understand why it dropped. Okay. I'm more of a bear on USD. So I'm not saying up for pound, but I am saying down for dollar. So I don't really know what's going on with the pound, but I have my theory on the USD. Cool. Coolio. Cool. Cool, right? Would you please take the opportunity to click the like button, please? I'd appreciate that. So let's go through what? Euro dollar, Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, right? So on and so forth. Let's take a look at what we got here. Bump, 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 bump. All right. So yesterday we were looking at this sucker and we noticed a bottom, perfect little bottom. Okay. Then we slam into the monthly central. Then we hit the new bottom yesterday, perfect little bottom. The interesting thing is each day we didn't quite hit the target. So like the target was 1600 here. Didn't quite get it because we got to 95, but we didn't get to 00. Then perfect little entry. We were supposed to go up here, 1613, didn't get there. We only got to 1605. So, each shot is close, but no cigar quite yet. So someone might be disconcerted, right, about this, right, or concerned about this significant drop. And it is significant because it does show a change in direction here. So before we get, upset, okay, let's take a look at what it means on the higher time frame, if anything. So we zip out, okay, double bottom is the play. So let's move back in. And, right, if we adjust from this low to that high, it's still a 618. If we adjust to that low to that high, it's still a 382. If you're not going to use Fibonacci, that's great. That's fine. We're going to look at things like this. Let me get, a rectangle out and say this bottom created that top, created that top, created that top, okay, and now is creating that bottom. That's how a bull would look at it. Okay, and that bottom, that bottom, that bottom, that bottom, this bottom. So a bull is still going to break it down bullishly. A bear is breaking it down bearishly. And right now, this still is a reasonable plan on a 4-hour. Reasonable. Can we go over the PPI event and what would it mean for the outlook for the USD? Sure, vodka. Let's talk about it. Let's go fundy for a second, everybody. Let's go fundy. PPI, Producer Price Index. This is inflation at let's say, the factory level. This is inflation for Apple. Okay? What does it cost Apple to acquire raw material? What does it cost Apple to buy parts? Okay, they're not finished goods, they're intermediate goods. So what does it cost to get the parts? What does it cost to assemble? What does it cost to package? What does it cost to ship? And what does it cost, right? All that kind of stuff. And what'll happen is your iPhone, what are they at now? 13? Your iPhone 13 is what? $1,200, $1,100? The question is, how does a retailer, right, meaning Apple, how does Apple handle that? Well, the input costs, which PPI measures, can go up and can come down and come up and come down and come up and over time. But typically, the phone will stay $1,100. It's not like you decide you want to buy it today and you're like, oh, but what color? Oh, I'll think about it overnight. And then you think about it overnight, and then you go to apple.com or you go to an Apple store, and now it's $1,250. And you're like, what? It was $1,100 yesterday. And they're like, wow, did you see inflation? Right? Like, they're not adjusting. So we call that sticky. Okay? And so how do you account for the changes at the producer price level? Well, it impacts the margin for Apple. How much profit do they make? Do they make 87%? Oh, well, PPI went up, so now they only make 82% or whatever, right? The profit margins are massive. I'd be surprised if an iPhone costs $200 to make. Okay? You can get a great Chinese phone for a lot less than $1,100. But anyways, okay? So it'll impact the margins until you get to a point, let's say it's not Apple, let's say it's XYZ Corporation, okay? So we'll call this XYZ, and let's say typically your margins are like 8%. But PPI has gone up. Again, the cost of raw material, commodities, the cost of labor for assembly, okay? The cost of rent, all this kind of stuff is all going up. So this is the transitory inflation stuff that we're worried about. So if that suddenly goes up to 4%, okay, PPI is up 4%, then all of a sudden you're like, dude, this company can't take a 50% loss in revenue. Or in this case, because it's your revenue minus costs, if you want to look at it that way, and your costs went up. And you're like, but you need a certain amount of profit to do things like, I don't know, pay your shareholders or all that kind of stuff, right? So some companies would have to then raise. And that's the next question. So if PPI is going up, how does it impact the margins and thereby profitability of U.S. companies? But then when does it get so high that they have to raise the price to cover the loss in margin? And that's what we actually care about. So the Fed doesn't really care about PPI. You don't really care about PPI, but it's a canary in the coal mine where if that goes up high enough, then it'll signal, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you might see inflation here. And this, having this go from 1,100 to 1,200, that's CPI. So the PPI is a leading indicator to CPI. Or PCE, okay? And if these indicators are going up, that's what the Fed will have to address. Is it transitory? Then wait it out. If it's not transitory, then raise interest rates. Okay? So it's kind of like a front-run look. PPI today might talk about or show or indicate what CPI in 6 months might be, okay? Was that helpful, Vodka? Okay. Yeah, my pleasure. The bottom line is it's not really a big deal. But it's more of a big deal now because lots of market participants are trying to get a read on inflation and whether it's transitory or not. So typically we're not so sensitive to that question. But now that that's, on the zeitgeist of the market, it places a little more weight than normal, right? Zeitgeist. How do you spell zeitgeist? Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist. Just going to look up a definition for that. The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history is shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time. So yeah, proper use of the word. It's one of those words that makes you look smarter than you are. All right. Or if you use words that make you look like you're smarter than you are, then you look dumb. So it's one of the two. All right. So let's see what the numbers is. Okay. Producer price year over year, 8.6. Okay. Core, 6.8. Month over month, 0.4. So a little less on the month over month, and as expected for core PPI year over year. And by the way, I'm just getting this live at Forex.Today, of course. Oops, except I just made that smaller. So you can see here the big number that we're looking at came out as expected. As expected. And month over month, a little less. Okay, it's higher than normal, but it could have been worse. Okay, and you can see a little bit abnormally high. Thank you, Michael, for that. Yes, that is true. Living like a mole, digging in a hole. Got no self-control now. Turn around excavation. Yeah. All right. Pretty amazing, right? So that's obviously the historic norm is quite different, right? So look at sort of normal, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Then we went through a deflationary period. So this got all the way down to 0, no inflation whatsoever. So this is disinflation, not deflation. I should correct myself. Normal inflation, disinflation, and then here we are now. And you're like, oh my God, Becky, look at that PPI. Okay, so I'm just trying to put things into context. So the big question of the day is transitory or not? Okay, and the true answer is some of it, much of it is, and some of it is not likely. Michael says, I love the chart history at Forex.Today. Yeah, me too, eh? Oh, Uh-oh, look at this. I'm underselling here, huh? Cool. Hey, just a question over here. Do you guys trade ECN accounts or what's your favorite? I'm a VAR guy. Always have been, always will be. I guess I'm just old school. But how many of you guys prefer trading on ECN? Yep. Andrews, both. I got them all, right? Yeah, interesting, huh? It's about 50-50. Yeah, the difference is soft dollars versus hard dollars. Okay, the soft dollar means you don't pay a commission, but it's worked out through the spread. The hard dollar is there's not really a spread, but you pay a commission. Okay, but this probably, the hard dollars, the ECN probably kills the fixed spread, but I don't know if anyone's even on fixed spread, very few. I think Raymond was going to try it out for us and see if it helped with scalping. Or, no, it was rollover. I think he was going to test it on rollover. Okay. Chinese inflation data later tonight. It's a big deal. And you might want to pay attention to these Fed speeches if you can get in on them, or go back and watch these. Could be interesting. Now, you'll hear in the media today that Brainerd, now there's a Bloomberg reporter calling her Bernard, and it's just funny because it's the reporter that covers central banks, but she doesn't know the person's name. But anyways, you're hearing that, oh my God, Biden's interviewing her so she could be the next head of the Fed, and that, oh, what if Jay Powell's out and they're going to not, blah, 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 blah. Be careful. I think this is the media pushing emotions and trying to make a story. Maybe it's true, but if anything, she's going to, well, I would still guess. It's still a guess, but here's my take. Jay Powell gets renominated, and that Brainerd gets a promotion to like a vice chair type role. But now they're saying, no, Jay Powell's out and she's going to be in, and this is going to, and this is, just be careful. Just be careful. Okay. Data says, hey, Wayne, when would central banks confirm inflation is not transitory? Well, you got to get through the base effects. So we got to clear out all the 2020 data, right? So right now we're comparing 2021 to 2022, right? No, 2020, right? And this is the base. Okay, this is the base. And since this was probably a negative number, any small positive number this year is going to look like a big change. So really what'll probably happen is you want to look at 2021 as the base versus 2022. Okay, that kind of stuff. And this is relatively, let's say this is a positive number and this is a positive number, all that kind of stuff. So it depends. The technical term is anchoring. It depends on when you anchor. Okay. Darko says, yeah, he thinks Jay Powell's done a pretty decent job. Yeah, the issue with it is Jay Powell is not an economist. He's a businessman. The last time we had the chair of the Fed be a non-economist, which means he doesn't have, multiple PhDs and stuff. Okay. The last time that has occurred, so think of every central banker. Okay. Bernanke. Well, we have to go to Yellen, right? Economist. Then you got Bernanke, economist. Then you have Greenspan, economist. Who was before Greenspan? Huh? Who broke the back of high inflation? Now we're talking the time of Ronald Reagan. Okay, the answer is Paul Volcker. Thank you. Milos got it. Who was before Paul Volcker when inflation was crazy, ridiculously high in the United States? This is going to be difficult to find. Okay, I guess this is right. So we're talking about for Jimmy Carter. So I'll never find it. The thing is, nobody knows. William Miller. Okay. Okay. William Miller. See, I don't even know. So W. Miller was not an economist. And so Jimmy Carter's presidency is known as a bad one. So Jimmy Carter from Georgia, Plains, Georgia. Okay? Many will consider a failed president. Okay? He went on to be a diplomat and all that kind of stuff. So he was well respected, but he was a one-term failed president. Now, I think the major contributing Jimmy Carter, but Miller. And Miller's policies failed. And inflation was crazy high. And America was broke. And if you went to like Detroit or New York City around that time, those places were like third world countries. They looked like they had been bombed out. And not long after that, even New York City went bankrupt. It was a horrible time in America. It was dirty, it was ugly, it was nasty. Who is the greatest president of all time? Well, a Republican will tell you what? Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Now, why was he the greatest? I'll tell you, at the time, people were not happy with Reagan. So why was he the greatest American president of all time? Well, Reagan chose Volcker. Volcker? Volcker crashed the economy on purpose, killed inflation, and then brought it back to normal. And America was rich for 30 years late, right? For the following 30 years, right? You have like the stock market going up and housing going up and all that kind of stuff, and reinvestment back into the cities, and crime started to fall, and everyone started doing cocaine instead of pot. So under Carter, everyone smoked pot. Under Reagan, everyone did cocaine. Hey, you can see, huh? Things got better. But the issue is Miller killed Carter's legacy. Ronald Reagan's first term was shaky, but he was reelected because the economy came back. And then after his second term, he was considered one of the greatest presidents of all time. I would argue Miller killed Carter's presidency. Volcker made Reagan's presidency. And it was all about the central banker. So Miller made Americans poor. Volcker made Americans rich. And it impacted the legacy of the president of the United States, but more importantly, the bank accounts of average Americans. Okay? Interesting, right? Interesting. So Jay Powell's not an economist. It could have been a lot worse is what I'm thinking. Okay? So whoever said, I think it was Darko. Darko's like, yeah, Jay Powell did all right. Yeah, well, under that sort of idea, I was worried that he wasn't an economist. He was a businessman. So what happened under a businessman? All the regional Fed chairs were trading the market while making investment decisions on behalf of the entire country. And that happened under a businessman. See, the rules were created and monitored by economists. Okay? I like to dumb it down to make it really easy for everybody to understand. Who created the rules? Who managed the rules? Nerds. Econ nerds. People with at least one PhD in economics. And they look around and they would rather die. They would rather die than, make public policy and do so for personal profit. They would just rather die than even remotely get involved in anything that can be construed as maybe self-interest, because they've dedicated their life to public service. Or you throw in some businessmen and they're like, hey, I'm not trading the public policy I just set. It just is the trades that I'm making worth millions of dollars just happen to be very interest rate sensitive. Well, of course, right? The businessman made money. It's like asking a fish to stop swimming. A businessman's going to make money. And this might bring Jay Powell down, if anything, but it's interesting that it's never happened before. Well, they have business people in these positions, and right, a businessman's going to make money. A businesswoman's going to make money. Okay? And so anyway, so that might bring Jay Powell's legacy down. But anyways, he could have done a lot worse, huh? The one thing I like is that in American government, you have rich people. You're like, well, that's really bad, especially for poor people. Maybe, not necessarily. But in other countries, you go to the government to get rich, which is different than you get rich in America and then become a public servant. Other countries, you go to the government, rape and pillage all the poor people so that now that you're rich. So I kind of like the American way. Get rich and then give back through manipulating markets for your self-interest and getting richer. But at least you started rich, right? So anyways, I just love it when like they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so traded $5 million after making this Fed decision. You're like, dude, this guy's trading $5 million on a block and he runs our banks? Good. I'd hate to have a poor banker. So anyways, good for America, right? You're like, wow, that's good. That's good, man. All right. Kiwi, kiwi, kiwi. Can't you see? All right. So this is what we got going on. Okay. Once again, it's saying this level of pullback is saying that we're struggling on this time frame to head up here, but that's the current target. Let's try to get this up to 72-ish. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but that's where I'd like to be going. This is the challenge that we have in play. My stop's jammed at 0. It's not on this account, but I'm in here. So now it's just like, let it work. Okay. Brainerd. Butkus is the potential replacement for Powell. So let's see. Do you guys know her? Okay. She's a dove. Okay. Every single vote she's made as part of the FOMC has been consensus. Consensus. Wow, I can't spell today. Consensus? That's way off. Consensus. Anyways, she's a dove. She votes with Jay Powell. Every single vote. So if Brainerd gets thrown in and Jay Powell gets kicked out, nothing will change as far as monetary policy. Nothing monetary policy. So nothing would change it as far as monetary policy. Policy. Okay? So no change if you put her in charge. So why would you fire Jay Powell if you didn't like his monetary policy, like Elizabeth Warren, who lives like across the street from Harvard, by the way, and all the workers hate her, which is funny. So Harvard's funny because it's a liberal school, it's a liberal arts school, and I was sitting out on the lawn, hanging out in the dorms because I lived in the dorms, and I met with the housemaster, and I said, "Look, I live a certain lifestyle." And, I want to drink wine and whiskey. I want to smoke cigars. I'm not like the other kids. And he's like, look, he's like, I can do something for you. We have a smoking area outside set up for the European summer school kids. And he's like, and if I can't see the if I can't see the liquor, then I'm going to look the other way. I'm like, that's cool. So anyway, so we moved the smoking area and I set up lawn chairs and everything. This is really true. I set up a whole area so I could sit, drink wine and smoke cigars, right? Like every Harvard kid. And I'm getting to the point here. And so anyways, the workers, the groundskeepers, the Harvard staff that take care of the buildings, take care of the yards and stuff, they see me and they're like, what the hell is this guy all about, right? Not your average Harvard student. So anyways, they come over and they're hanging with me because they're my age, right? And we're hanging. And these guys are like hardcore Republican, solid union, solid guys, right? Just they're solid guys. And anyways, so I'm like, hey, so they brought up Elizabeth Warren. It was really funny because she's crazy liberal and Cambridge is crazy liberal, right? In of itself, crazy liberal. So anyways, they had a lot of harsh words for Elizabeth Warren. So anyways, despite what Elizabeth Warren says about Jay Powell, she hates his monetary policy. She hates him. He's dangerous. Like she says, Jay Powell's so bad, he's dangerous. Okay. So let's say people agree with this. And that's why Brainerd was at the White House. If you fire Jay Powell and put her in, you get the same monetary policy. So why go through that effort? And why freak out the markets that you have to fire your central banker and put in a new one? So like, you know what I mean? Like, why? Why would you do it? Now, Brainerd is different, just not when it comes to monetary policy, OMC. What she considers herself is a regulator. So Elizabeth Warren would prefer her because Brainerd would go after bank regulations and start increasing all scrutiny over the banks, which there's plenty of now, and the banks are healthy, so I don't know why you'd have to go in and regulate more. I don't think she'd over-regulate, but if you put her in charge, she might do something to show that that's her personality. Okay? But monetary policy wouldn't change. So, and then whatever happens here wouldn't be much different. She would just do something to show that she's now in charge. So she'd change something and, you know, whatever. So my whole point is the president and the Senate going to go through all of this to get her? Or they're cool with what's going on now? It's just easier. Do they really want to bog down debate? So the president appoints, and then the Senate needs to confirm, and then they're going to go like, what about this, and what about that, and interviews and all this kind of stuff. Like, for what? For what? Like, what do you get? What do you get if you go through all of that? Versus, let's just keep everything as it is. Everything seems to be working, and let it do its thing. Okay? Greg says you do it because you're a world-class group. Yeah, for sure. Never underestimate people's stupidity. That's one thing I learned as an adult. So when I was in my 20s, I saw, you know, I was surrounded by amazing leaders. I was becoming a great leader myself, if I may say so. So I managed, you know, thousands of people. I sat on a board of directors with George Soros. Not bad when you're not allowed to drink alcohol. I actually was at a board meeting, and the board member said, hey, let's go downstairs to the bar and let's have a couple of drinks. It's a Friday afternoon. We're done work. So I went down to the bar, but I couldn't order a drink. And there I'm hanging out with, the vice president of General Electric, and I can't even have a beer, right? Right? But whatever. We'll skip. Oh, I know what I was saying. And so I always thought that the world was perfect. The world was getting better. You could change the world. And I still believe a lot of this. But what I've learned as an adult is never, ever underestimate someone's stupidity. But I wasn't raised that way. I've learned that the hard way. All right. Yeah, and Hope, my only comment was these guys that worked at Harvard, she lived across the street from Harvard, they worked at Harvard, and they clearly had different political points of view, like clearly, and it was just funny having a conversation with these guys, right? It was just a funny moment in time. Okay? But what a cool thing, like, I just remember my first summer school where I'm like, man, when I was 20 and I was, poor going to university, I just wanted to I wished I was the guy with the Ferrari or lived a cool, sophisticated life. I was just a poor college kid. So it was funny to go back later in life and say, all right, this time I'm bringing Japanese whiskey. This time I'm bringing French wine. This time I'm bringing Cuban cigars. And I literally set it all up in the dorm. And I rented a refrigerator / freezer. So I was making ice balls for the Japanese whiskey. And it's like, that's the way you go to college, man. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. All right, cool. So let's zip over here. I've been sitting on this now for 12 hours, maybe even longer, just slowly trying to roll this over. And it ain't not working. Okay. Is that right, Hope? Oh, I didn't know that, in the law school. And I think she lives near the law school too, which is really cool. The law school is nice. The law school is nice. It's a nice little campus. The buildings are gorgeous. Oh my God. The buildings are gorgeous. If you go to Harvard Law School, it's like literally a Ritz-Carlton. It's like a beautiful, gorgeous, modern hotel. Right? And you're like, this is the law school? You're like, yeah. And I heard the new engineering school is nice, but I haven't been there. That was after I moved on. But yeah, what a great place. And the law library is really cool too. It's quiet. I used to go to the law library because it was just quiet. It's a cool place. But like the law school has like beach volleyball courts and stuff like that. It's all good, man. It's all good. So EW lives out that way. That makes sense. All right, cool. So anyways, here I am looking on the 4 hour. My target on this is minimum 23. And we're just very, very slowly moving towards that. I imagine there's going to be another big up before there's a big down. So my stop is above the monthly central. So now I just sit and wait. Okay. Okay. So cool. Yeah. So if euro dollar is going up, this USD CAD should go down. And that's all good. Cool. So the question is, if a couple of people are mentioning euro dollar going up, well, the thing is, what I really care about is dollar down. So that's good. Good. And I should be making money over there. Yeah. 3 profitable trades today. Good. Good. Pound coming down. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. Okay. Why would you do a double law degree? Or you mean law and MBA? You know what I would do? I mean, an MBA at Harvard is through the business school. So, but see, the thing is the Harvard MBA, so like my graduate degree is in management, right? The MBA is very management focused at the business school. So if you're going to go to Harvard Business School and get an MBA, they're grooming you to become a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company. And if you want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, guess what? The most common graduate degree is a Harvard Business School degree. So the best thing you could do if you want to become a CEO of a company with 10,000 or more employees, you go to Harvard and get a management degree, right? Harvard Business School. So I think if you, I know where you're going with that, Hope. I think what I would recommend is, if you're going to sort of do that double degree idea, is you go to get a master's degree in engineering from the engineering school first. Okay, so you become a hardcore engineer. Solid math, some focus on some type of engineering, and then get your law degree. And now you're a lawyer that can do the math. Left brain, right brain. Oh my God. Do you know how few lawyers there are that can argue a case because they understand the physics and the math? Because they have an engineering master's degree? Like, You would be one of the highest paid lawyers in the world if you had a graduate engineering degree, not an undergrad, because there is no undergrad engineering degree at Harvard. So you'd go to Harvard graduate school and get, through the engineering school, and then go to grad school through the law school. And my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, and Elton says, yeah, most lawyers go to law school because they can't do the math, right? And anything else. Yeah, so imagine you were solid on both cases. I'm telling you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you'd be unstoppable. So anyways, dollar weakening, which is good. That's what I want. Okay. I backed off all my yen trades last night in Asia. Just backed off all of them. I think, anyways. So I'll go back to this. Euro dollar building up. Okay, but see, this is off our line. It makes sense. I just talked about this. Cool. So it's doing what we asked, right? Okay. Hey, my pleasure, vodka. Oh, going to class. Very cool. Alton's doing the law degree right now. Very cool. The cool thing about like studying law, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I studied for the LSAT and all that kind of stuff. The interesting thing about law school is they'll give you a case and they'll say fact, fact, fact. So you do all the case study, right? You study that and you do the case study yourself, and then you probably have a study group. So you get a bunch of 5 of your friends and you talk about the case study and you do this and do that. And you're told to prosecute based on the facts, right? So you study it and then you meet with the group and they talk about the point, counterpoint and all that kind of stuff. And you get all ready and then you go to class and you're prepared to prosecute. And the professor then calls on student 128. And you look and you're like, oh, you're student 128. So you stand up and you're ready to prosecute. And the professor says, take the defense. And you studied for hours and days. Like you might have put 12 hours of work into this one case study. And you're with the focus of prosecuting, and then they tell you, okay, now defend. And someone else is going to prosecute, and you got to do it. And you just got to think, just like being a trader. You got to think, okay, you studied for 12 hours to be a bull, but why are the bears right? Why are they right? You should be able to immediately take the other side of that trade if need be. And that's the cool thing about law school. There isn't an answer. Now, there is a movie. I don't know the name of the movie, and I think it's from the 1970s. And it takes place at Harvard Law School. And it really gives you an insight of what law school is like. You'll have to Google it. I don't think there's anybody famous in it. I have no recollection of what it's called. But it's a really cool look because obviously law school hasn't changed much. The buildings have changed. The professors are probably still the same. And it's worth looking at if you're interested in life at Harvard or life in law school, what it's like to just be thrown into the crucible like that. And there's very little rules. Is it paper chase? There's very little rules in law school. The Paper Chase. It's 1973. No, that doesn't look right. Although that might... James Bridges? That doesn't look right, no. Anyways, yeah, I don't think that's it. I'm looking at it on a different screen here. I don't think that's it. Let me just try something very generic, like Harvard Law School movie. Maybe it is Paper Chase. It is. It is. I'm sorry, it is Paper Chase. So some other movie came up when I Googled it. It's actually a pretty cool, interesting movie. It is Paper Chase. Okay, I stand corrected. It's interesting. Only if you want to see what law school is like. Okay. It is. That is. Yeah, so I was at the law school and I was in the gift shop and they had a t-shirt that said illegally blonde. And I made the mistake of texting that to my wife and she's like, "What do you mean?" Oh my God. I was so in trouble. I'm like, and I would have been a terrible lawyer, I guess, because I couldn't talk myself out of that. I was just dead in the water. Oh no, what did I do? Anyways, okay, so like short-lived weakness. Okay, that's fine. So really we need the stock market open. So we went from dollar weakness to dollar strength in just a matter of, a minute. So yeah, don't believe the hype. So anyways, we'll let it work. We'll do its thing. What time is it? 9:10. Okay, take a look at some commodities. You guys want to do gold, oil, and Bitcoin before the end? Okay, Bitcoin. Oh, shoot. All right, so I need to watch that. I need this to go up a little bit. Okay. So I was watching it on this time frame, kick it off of here. So, yeah, it was great. So I made my coffee here, came back, it was here, and it was up $200. I'm like, nice. Cool. So it looks like I made another $200. Cool. Not a leverage trade, just a cash position. All right. Gold. Yeah. Gold. What do we know? Talk to me, Goose. Well, we know technically this market is bullish and that you probably want to look for roll reversals. Okay. What will likely happen is we'll hit target, then come down, and then maybe try to go up. But that would be a next week trade, huh? Yeah, happens, eh, Robin? Yeah, anyways. No, it's not even, no, it's just business, man. Just business. So anyways, gold is elevated. It's too high to buy, so you need to drop back down to maybe 1,800. Okay. But if you remember, the goal was 1,750 to 1,850, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's 1,825. Dude, we've done all right. Okay. We've done all right. Bitcoin, I guess I should do a little bit more analysis, but the thing that I'm playing is just this. Okay. Okay. So to me, that's a higher low, which should produce a higher high. Okay, notice we hit today's target. So today's target was you were supposed to exit in this zone. So check it out. If you're using pivot points, it says 68,460.2. And look at the accuracy here, huh? Cool. So then it retraded. That's an all-time high, by the way. And then you buy it a dip like that. And that's tomorrow's trade. So I'm hoping this produces. It will be informative if it does not produce. If this doesn't produce, I walk. But if it does produce, I'll let it run. So it's always a choice, right? Run versus walk. So right now I'm letting it run. Okay. But we breach that 21 and then I walk. Let's do some oil. Let's do, I guess we'll do WTI, my WTI. We're still holding above the 80. Okay. In this context, when you got the higher high, you buy a higher low. Cool, which we have now done on 81.5. The next target is probably this resistance area. Okay. You might want to add, weeklies to this? So you can go insert indicators, custom. You want to do bias pivots? Okay. No, let's not do, maybe, hang on. I guess it's these. We'll start with daily. Okay, daily, we're stuck in the middle. Not helpful. It's not bullish. It's not bearish. It's very neutral. You go to the indicator list, change it to weekly. Okay, take a look at that. Let me just, why do we got these fibs there? Let's get rid of that. Okay, and what do we see here? Okay, weekly is predicting 87. So that would produce a higher high. Just barely, okay? So to put it into context, we'll kind of have to, a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a higher high, maybe as high as here. See, I think that would take 2 days. And then a challenge off this top, so I'll make it a bigger challenge. And then something more like this. Okay. Is your ADA up 12%? Last time I looked, it hasn't been doing anything, right? But I'll take a look as far as those things. Okay, if you want to look at XRP, it's slow. Okay, but there's the plan. I was going to take it to 1.8 from 105. Okay, nice little move, right? It came down to 90. So we're looking to double it basically, right? And, we're not there. Just not there. Just slow and steady, steady and slow. But we have we've pulled the bottom up, but we haven't really made we haven't locked in a higher high yet. Okay. Cool. So that's it. I'm spent. If you're in my live group, I'll see you at 3 p.m. If you're in my live group, I'll see you again at 8 p.m. Peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May our profits be above average. Thank you for being a client of TradersWay.com, but also thank you for being a member of FX Bootcamp. If you haven't joined yet, FXBootcamp.com. There's plenty of links in the description below, and on your way out, please click the thumbs up button. See you later.